Hey guys, what's going on? Sadiq. Welcome to Experiences with Sadiq. Season 2. Experiences with Sadiq is about all things real estate. A show where communication is key, advocating for the people is bliss, and knowledge, it's inspiring. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the show. And oh yeah, don't forget to follow me on all my social media platforms. Whether you're buying or selling a home, I'm that guy. Let's go! Hey guys, what's going on? It's your man Sadiq. Welcome to Experiences with Sadiq. Welcome back on season 2. So today I have a lovely lady, a doctor. Her name is Dr. Hume Johnson. Today we're going to talk about branding and marketing. This is her specialty, and she's going to share some tips, some key factors that, especially if you're a realtor or entrepreneur or everyday individual just looking to establish a brand around yourself, Dr. Hume Johnson is going to share some knowledge that could benefit you. So, Doc, if you don't mind, introduce yourself to the people and just talk to them.
So, very nice. Thank you so much. We've been trying to get together for a while.
That's true.
Guys, my name is Hume Johnson. I am a professor of communications, but for most of my life, I've been a journalist, a newsreader in Jamaica, and I've also been a political speechwriter. I've been a publicist for a top reggae entertainer. And so throughout all of those careers, I've had to build the brands of the people that I'm working with. If you are an entertainer, I'm right beside you, building your brand, trying to raise your profile. If you are a politician, I'm not just writing your speech, I'm also wanting to ensure that people are voting for you, people are understanding what you bring to the table, what your values are. And so at the end of the day, you still have to try to scale the brand of the person that I'm working with. So now I do personal branding with executives, with entrepreneurs like yourself, trying to get people to understand a little bit more clearly about what personal branding is, because there's a lot of confusion out there about what personal branding is about. A lot of people feel like your personal brand is simply about getting likes and following on your social media. And the more likes that they have, the more following they get, people feel like, yes, I have a really strong brand, but that's a popular brand. I'm sure your brand is very popular.
Listen, my brand is doing justice right now, but just like anything else, I still want to be educated as well.
Yes, of course.
And I think millions of people want to be educated too, especially in today's day and age where everything's all about education.
Yeah, of course.
So branding, if you notice, entrepreneurship has grown major. A lot of people are trying to dive into the whole aspect of it. Now, when it comes to branding, how did you go? What made you decide, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. This is what I want to teach people to understand their brand, their image. Well, how did you get involved in all that?
I was a jack of all trades, or Jane of all trades. I moved here from Jamaica, but I was a student in New Zealand. I went off to New Zealand from Jamaica to do a PhD, but I was a journalist in Jamaica and working with politicians and entertainers in building their brand and their image. But at the time, we were really talking about publicity and marketing. We really weren't thinking of personal branding in the sense of how I'm thinking about it now. Because at the time, when I'm coming into it, people are saying, oh, can you help me to market my image? Nobody was saying brand. Can you help me to raise my profile in the community? Can you get me to be more known in my target publics? And so at that time, I felt that I couldn't just communicate your speeches. I couldn't just write your media release. I had to figure out who you are and what value you bring to the table. But then when I moved overseas to do my own PhD and my education, I discovered that I was so busy building other people's brand, I had no idea what my brand was. And by the time I was finishing this PhD in politics, I was very confused. I was going through a full-blown crisis of identity. What am I bringing to the table? I had many skills. What is the anchor in my career? I was in entertainment. I was working in politics. I was working in journalism. What is the anchor? And a lot of people who come to branding, they lack that kind of focus. They're already successful people. A lot of my clients, they are doing their thing, but they're realizing, how do I scale up? And scaling up means you have to come back to the drawing table. If I'm an entrepreneur, What value am I bringing to my clients? What makes you different from the other real estate people that are working in the same industry? You guys are going after the same thing. You're offering the same services. What would make Sadiq's service different? And I realized at that point that it has to come back to you, not just, oh, I'm selling something that is cheaper. You may have a different approach. You may be a more approachable person. You may be more charming. You may have more knowledge. You may have more knowledge of your field. You may bring something to the table that somebody else doesn't. And I had to figure that out for myself. Coming into this, I had, several degrees by that time. And I had 20 years of experience in communications. And so I had to figure out, what did I bring to the table? What do I want to offer? And who am I really? And so I had to go through that whole process to find out, where am I going to go next after I leave New Zealand? What career am I going to go into? Am I going to go back to journalism? Am I going to do into politics? And so figuring out what my brand is and who I wanted to help and what value I was offering or could offer my clients, what was a common thread among those different layers of my career. Personal branding was the deal for me. It really helped me to pinpoint the areas that I needed to focus on. So I use my own experience, my own knowledge, some of the mistakes that I made along the way, and I use it as lessons to help other professionals to find their own way.
Interesting. If you don't mind sharing to the people, what are, first, before we even go into the mistakes, right? Because there are some mistakes. We all make mistakes.
Yeah.
Jesse and I, who's my videographer that some of you guys know, we went through a slew of mistakes, a slew of different, trying to do different things. So before
we find out what works.
Find out what works, so I can be able to find my brand. And it took me a while before I even found my brand and try to understand who I am. And I'm still trying to go through that phase.
Yeah.
So I guess I want to understand, there's two things here. I want to understand the scaling factor of it and the mistakes of it. So I guess, I don't know how you want to go about it. You want to talk about the mistake first in order to figure out the scale?
The mistake for me is not figuring out what my brand is while I was in school. This is a question they don't ask. So they say, okay, you need to get an education, especially for the black community. Our parents want us to be educated because they know that education is that pathway to social mobility. So you get a degree and you try to get into the professions, you try to get a good job. Nobody says, can you find out what you're really passionate about, what you're really skilled at, and then find out what industry needs the skills that you have and how you can now leverage the skills that you have to serve the needs of that industry.
Interesting.
That is not what they teach us. They say, learn the subject, find this job, and once you get a job description and you're getting paid, most people are happy with that because, wow, I can buy a house, I can buy a car. So when they get to mid-career, most people are a little bit confused. They want to scale up. They don't know what direction because they're basically thinking that their brand is the job that they have and the job description that they have and the position that they're in, that's their job. But you take your brand to the job. And when you leave that job, you take your brand with you. So your brand is you. Your brand is the sum of your personality, your wonderful personality. Your brand is your core competencies, your skills and your talents and your gifts and your passions. It's also your values. What are the things that you believe in? It's also the value that you can offer others. What's your personal equity? We don't only use equity in business. What is your personal capital that you bring to the table? And when we think of capital, where most people are thinking, I need to get a house, I need to get a car, and that's equity. Yes, that is equity, but what about your personal equity? Your skills, the fact that you're a very approachable person, that you build relationships effortlessly, that you're a team player, that you're a leader, that you're very skilled at communication, that you're a very confident person, Sadiq.
I hope so.
So all of that, when you pull all of that together, those intangible assets that we forget, that is the sum of your personal brand. So my mistake was not figuring out that first. And so it took me a while. Okay, I need to do this degree. Why am I doing a degree? is this degree going to help me to scale the knowledge that I have to match the area that I want to go in 5 years, in 10 years? So most people are signing up for masters right now. And they do their masters, they spend all this money to do their masters. And then afterwards they're like, okay, what am I going to do with it? It is very important for you to figure out what skills you have, what competencies you have, what value are you going to bring to the table, and to whom are you going to provide that value. Then if you need a master's in accounting, or if you need to do an MBA in leadership, then you're going to use those expertise and that qualification to bolster what your brand is. So the mistake is, can you pause before you rush out to do your next degree or to jump into business, kind of find out what your brand is, what the market needs, and can you supply that? And what would make you stand out among your competitors? We call it your unique value. What is your unique value proposition? What do you bring to the table? What problems can you solve that your competitors are not solving? What do your market need? My market, they need, most of them, they're already successful. A lot of them are politicians, they are CEOs, they're middle managers. One of my clients was an international ambassador. I had somebody from the WHO. These are people who are really successful. They're lawyers, they're doctors. So they're qualified in their field, but they want to be an expert in their industry. They want to be a leader. They want to stand out. They want to stand on what they know. So if you do medicine, okay, that's big. And if you do, I'm looking at stroke in women. Okay, so we can get a little bit more granular. Is this the area that you want to show your expertise on? Do you want to be a standout leader in this niche? What are you bringing to the table? These are things that people need to find out before they make the decision to leave their job, before they do a degree, before they leave a university, before they set up their own business, stuff like that. So, and your brand evolves over time.
And it does evolve. And I think there's, I'm not sure if you could break it down into 3 different factors, right? That puts a person into a position where they could truly understand their brand image, their brand identity. If you don't mind, 3 factors she's going to break down.
Okay. So most people think that social media is their brand, but it cannot be a substitute for your brand. It's just a vehicle to convey your brand. So what is your brand? If you start on social media, it's like putting the roof of a house first. You're building the house and you're putting the roof on first. And guess what's going to happen? The roof is going to look pretty. Your neighbors are going to come around and like, wow, there's a beautiful roof. But at some point, it's going to fall down because it doesn't have a foundation. Exactly. So I talk a lot about your brand infrastructure. So it has 4 main pillars to it. I've added 2 pillars. So the house now has 6 pillars to it. So the fundamental pillar, start with your personality. Who are you at your core? Because when people meet you, they don't meet what you do. We actually don't care what you do. If we meet you and you're a wonderful person, you're approachable and you're nice and you have good character and you're a person of integrity, we warm to you. We're like, wow, I like that guy. I want to talk to him some more. Then we're trying to find out what your skills are. So the first foundational element of your personal brand really should be your personality. Who are you at your core? What is the strongest aspect of your personality? I'm a confident person. I think that you're confident. I know that. I think you're pretty confident. I learned confidence though. Confidence it wasn't something I was born with. I was quite intimidated. I have a really weird name. My name is Hume. Who calls a child Hume? So I was very doing this a lot in my life, kind of pulling back. I was scared when people would ask me what my name is. I don't talk about that a lot. It's a story I should tell. But I learned confidence quite early when I was training my voice to be a broadcaster. And you had to enter this room and, kind of occupy space. And I didn't know how to occupy space, to feel like I belong in that room and to feel worthy, because you're coming into spaces that you're not accustomed to and you're feeling intimidated. So now when I work with clients, I work on your personality first. If you're a shy person, nothing is wrong with that. Maybe shyness is a value that you offer. Maybe you are someone who can resolve conflicts. Maybe your personality will be that thing in the room that we need at that moment. So I try to have clients think about what aspect of your personality is a strength, and how can you translate your personality into the work that you do to make it better for your clients. So some clients will say, I say, what's your competitive advantage? What makes you stand out? And they'll say, well, I have a degree from Harvard. I'm like, well, 300 people who graduated with you also had that degree. And then they'll come into it and understand that, oh, I commit to my clients. I will give the same commitment at 8 a.m. in the morning as I would at 10 p.m. That's the difference between two people with a Harvard degree and you're saying, okay, what makes them different? And one person is showing that personally, I'm a very committed person. I show up for my clients. So you have to figure out your personality. So that's pillar number one. Pillar number two, we're interested in your specialty and your expertise. What are you exceptional at? If you're not exceptional, what are you good at, but you're working on it and you want to get better at this? Or what are you passionate about and you really want to get good at it and you're willing to study it and know it like the back of your hand, so that when they can wake you up in the middle of the night and you can do that thing, so that's the thing that you are known for. When they think of your field, real estate, Sadiq, Davies come to mind. That's what you're working on, because you want to build that knowledge and that expertise. So that's pillar number two.
So identity, one.
Yes,
two.
Personality.
Yep.
Because some people's identities I like personality.
All right.
And number two, your specialty. So your core competencies, your expertise,
I'm
your knowledge. Pillar number three, remember, we're building this house and we're putting down the foundations. Pillar number three is your values. What are your values? What do you believe in? Are you a person of integrity? Can we trust you? Can we rely on you? You say you're going to show up on time. Are you going to show up? You showed up today before time.
Listen, and
High five.
High five. She does not play no games when it comes to promptness. Dr. Hume don't play no games.
Punctuality. It shows that you respect my time. Yeah, and I respect your time. And so we show up before time today. So we were both ready to go. So people relate to you on the basis of, if they feel like their values and yours aligned, you got them. They're willing to work with you over the other person, because the things that you believe in, they share those values as well. If you believe in family, you're not going to take a job where you have to go away from your child. And you want to be in a position where even if you have to go away, you can get to come back. I believe in structure. I have to make sure that my environment is kind of neat before I sit at my desk to do work. So I believe in that kind of organization. So we make our decisions consciously or unconsciously based on the values that we hold. Nobody's asking us our values, but the things we stand up for, and the things we remain silent about. You can tell a lot about people, not based on what they say necessarily, but the things they don't say and the things they don't stand up for.
So
if you're silent, you're complicit to me. So people want to know that we have shared values. And if you're a business person, are you having values that I share? Do I want to buy your product? If you believe in certain things, if you hold certain values, do I want to do business with you? Do I want to buy the products that you have to offer? And we don't think about it a lot, but we do engage with people who share our values. It doesn't mean you can't engage with somebody who doesn't share your values, but there is always a common ground that you want to have with people. And business people, entrepreneurs out there, real estate people, if you do business in a way that people trust, if you're honest, if you're approachable, if you have certain values that they share, they'd rather do business with you than somebody else who's probably a little bit more successful in what they do. So that's the third pillar of this house or brand infrastructure that we're building. And the fourth pillar, I like to talk about perceptions that other people have.
Perception of you.
Perception of you. Because your brand is a combination of what people see of you, not just what you say about yourself. Because we can believe a whole bunch of things about ourselves, and then the public out there will have a different view.
Yep.
They will come and they will say something to you that you didn't know about yourself, or you didn't realize you were offering that. Or like, that's not what I want to show. Because sometimes it's not aligned with how you want to be seen. So it's very important for you to kind of get a sense of, I ask my clients sometimes to write on Facebook and say, how would you describe me? Ask your closest friends, how would they describe you, so that you at least get a sense of how employers are looking at you, how your colleagues are looking at you, how your sponsors and investors are looking at you, because it gives you an opportunity to edit. Because if there are certain things that you probably need to shift and to edit some things, or to, okay, I didn't realize I was coming off that way, maybe I'll roll this back, or maybe I should tap into that more. I didn't know that that was part of how I'm seen. If you can see that as an asset, then it's an opportunity for you to and this is what your prospects think as well, because Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, he says your personal brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. I think that's a great definition. I think it's incomplete because it also has to be what we think about ourselves and how we show up in the world.
So
but he's right. But he's right when he says what other people say about you when you're not in the room is a sense of what your brand is, what your reputation is. Do they want to work with you again? Have you given them the confidence to want to do business with you? So when you're not in the room, they're like, wow, he was awesome, wasn't he? We want to work with him again. Oh, we're going to call her back. I met a lovely person. I spoke to somebody on the phone this week, and then they started to follow me on Instagram. And in the evening, she wrote underneath my page and said, this was the best, your conversation was the best conversation I had today. Nice. And it was wonderful because I don't know her. Mm-hmm. She doesn't know me, but whosoever, her perception of me was quite positive. And I think that's important as well. These days, this is the 4 pillars. We can run with that. These days, I've been looking more on adding 2 more pillars to this brand infrastructure. And one is the mistakes that you've made. It's not that we're celebrating mistakes. Don't get me wrong. We're not celebrating mistakes. What we're doing is understanding that there are lessons that we might have learned from the things that we did wrong. Or you have 20 years in business, surely you must have done something wrong that you thought, wow, if I had that to do over, I would have done it a little differently. So people come to me and there's so many gurus out there. Why do people choose Hume Johnson? They're like, okay, she has a lot of experience. She has worked with so many people, and she also didn't know what her brand is. So, okay, I want to learn from her because her story, she's willing to tell me that she made this error. This is where she was struggling. And I am struggling right now. This is where I am. And so I can relate to her. And the final pillar, I believe, is your message. So see, this is now when we put the roof on this house.
She's breaking it down for you guys.
And this is a perfect analogy for a real estate guy. We're putting the roof on the house now, and the roof is your message. You're going to convey your brand. And there's so many ways in which you can convey your brand. Social media is a go-to because that's the space we're in. Yeah. 3.45 billion people are online. So there's this virtual world that everybody wants to occupy, and we want to be out there, but you really should figure out what your brand is first. What problems can you solve, who you are, what value you're bringing to the table. Then you can use the means of your disposal, which is the social media platforms, to convey your brand. Not everybody wants to be on social media. I get it. I mean, Einstein became popular and, he was not on social media because it didn't exist. And so there are people who have built solid personal brands who are not online. Can you show up in a meeting? Can you do that presentation? Can you lead that team? Can you write for your local newspaper? You know, there are various ways. Can you write a book? Is my person write a book right here? There are various ways in which online and offline you can build a solid personal brand, and that's why I end where I started. Your personal brand cannot be the likes that you get. That's a popular brand. I have clients who have approached me, and they have, when I look on their Instagram, they have 30,000 followers. I'm like, I have 2,000 people following me. I probably get 10 likes on a photo. Yet they would come to me and they say, hey, this is what is happening. What do you think I should do? And we have to go through that same conversation. Who are you? Yeah. So if you are popular, it's great because it's a great means of kind of getting traction for your business as well if you have a large audience. But it's very important to find out, first of all, who are you and what is the value that you're really offering those people who are following you. If your brand faces a glitch, if you get into trouble or something is going wrong that, you know, puts a little stain on your brand, that happens sometimes. It's the favorability of you know, favorable opinion that you would have built up over time among your target public. We know her. She believes in honesty. She's a person of integrity. We know who she is. So we are going to stand by her. They're not going to stand by you simply because you had 30,000 followers and you're entertaining. They're going to stand by you because they believe that you are a person of integrity. So your brand really should begin at the foundation, and then you put the roof on it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you're also a writer, all right?
Yes, I write.
You wrote a few books already.
Yes.
And if you guys haven't seen the book behind us, which is called Brand You, and I have a copy myself.
To you, did I give you a copy?
I took the book from a friend of mine who had your book, and because I'm big into marketing and branding.
Oh, she gave away the book?
No, I took it from her. She was mad. It was a female friend, one of my colleagues. Mad I took it, but because when I see books on marketing or branding, I'm quick to pick it up. It's just the things that I like to learn. So I picked it up, and I want you to talk about what Brand You is all about. Since this is your field, what does your book mean to you, and what do you want the book to represent for you?
Brand You was my own intervention in the conversation about personal branding. When I looked out there and everybody was saying branding, I felt that people were talking about brand marketing, the promotional aspect of it. And I was screaming at the top of my lungs, no, that's not what it's about. Because what they were getting at is the end product. They were seeing what was at the end. And I really wanted people to understand the brand infrastructure that we just talked about, that your social media was just a vehicle. And so the brand book was really about, can I show people 5 steps to building their personal brand? And if you read this book, you'll realize that the steps are beginning with who you are, your soft skills. And soft skills are becoming the new hard skills. Because people think, when they say, tell me about yourself, they start to tell me, well, I'm a real estate, entrepreneur. And they start to tell you what they do. But we really want you to start with who you are, you know. And so I go through 5 steps in that book to help you to kind of start I call them the building blocks, 5 building blocks to getting you to understand what your personal brand is about. I also have an online course on Thinkific, Brand You Global Academy, where I go through those steps as well. And we have different exercises in the books, a multitude of questions that you're meant to be asking yourself, so that you can figure out what your personal brand is. And when you're done, then you can use your social media to start conveying your value. So don't just sell yourself, try to communicate your value. And so that's what the book is about. Yeah.
Now, do you have a part 2 coming out, or?
Yeah, I have an advanced book. This book was picked up by a couple of universities in the United States, which is wonderful.
Congratulations.
Yes, Clayton State University, they're using it in their MBA program. I also realized, to my surprise, during the pandemic, that Minnesota State University, it was one of the required books on their agenda as well.
Congratulations.
So and this is absolutely something that I didn't know. I just learned, by the way. Yeah. And then one of the professors said, oh, well, we need an advanced copy now. And I thought it's a great idea because another way of building your brand is not just to put out content on social media, but to write books and papers and columns so that you can show people the knowledge and the expertise that you have. So the second book will be a more advanced book. I want to figure out why entrepreneurs like yourself, why do we get into personal branding? And most of it is because the economy has changed. We're no longer working 9 to 5. People are realizing that they don't necessarily will have their job for 20, 30 years, and they have to find ways of increasing their income. Even the fact that you're working 9 to 5, most people are not getting the kind of salaries that can sustain them and their family. So they're realizing in a digital economy and this gig economy that we live in, that if you scale your brand and establish the skills that you have and you can solve problems for people in this particular niche, then you can actually earn additional streams of income. So the second book will get into my own evolution from working and thinking that a job was waiting for me after university to this whole point where how do we establish ourselves in our industry, whether you're a working person or you're an entrepreneur, and how are we responding to the changes in work, and how do we rethink certain things? I mean, in the past, we focused on the hard skills. If you can do the job, you'd get the job. Now, in a pandemic, people realize that being resilient, being adaptable, being able to adjust from working at the office to working from home. These are things that are soft skills. These are being flexible, being adaptable, being a team player, being able to collaborate, being able to communicate with your colleagues and work together as a team. Those are fundamental skills that are needed in a post-COVID, if we ever get post-COVID, we will, post-COVID environment. And so people have to now realize that their personal brand is not just having an established presence on social media, is really contributing your hard skills and your soft skills to the space that you're in.
I'm really happy that you're writing that spinoff to the book, because last year there was a lot of self-identification that people were going through, especially because a lot of people lost
their jobs, because people had originally tied their identity to their work, tie their identity to the job that they're in. So when they lost the job, they're like, who am I? And a lot of people were very depressed because what am I going to do now? What skills do I have? And it's difficult to bounce back when you've always imagined yourself in a particular job, in a particular position, and suddenly that you're not in that position. So now what we have to learn from this COVID environment is to make sure that you're multi-skilled. Make sure that you're always developing the skills and the talent that you have. Make sure you're learning everything you can about your industry. Make sure you know what particular expertise, what problem you can solve, because the people who can solve problems are the ones who will be retained when they're ready to lay off people.
Now that's a backdrop, because that's true to its essence and to the core. That's a backdrop right there. Dr. Hume Johnson, if you don't mind, you did drop some knowledge.
Thank you.
And I definitely know there's people out there who, after watching this, most likely going to contact you and want to know more about brand building. If you don't mind, share to the people how they can reach out to you and contact you for anything they have any question.
I am Dr. Hume Johnson, Dr. Hume, odd name, I know. Hume Johnson, and I'm Dr. Hume Johnson on Facebook. I'm Dr. Hume Johnson on Instagram. I'm Dr. Hume Johnson on LinkedIn. I'm Dr. Hume Johnson. Wherever it is, I'm Dr. Hume Johnson over there. And you can get a copy of my book, Brand You, on Amazon. I also have a brilliant online course with tons of great videos on Brand You Global Academy at thinkific.com. Yeah.
You guys hear it with Dr. Hume Johnson. Some great knowledge from her, as well as some great stuff that you guys could utilize in your personal life. as you're going through this phase of trying to find your self-identity, right?
And I should say that congratulations for extending your personal brand in this way. Your podcast is part of the way you're conveying your own knowledge.
Thank you.
And your own personal brand. And I think that's very good. So congratulations.
Just like everybody else, I'm still trying to find myself. I feel like I've been through a lot in terms of trying to create my brand.
Yeah.
But there's always stuff that I personally and just anybody else, education is always going to be a key factor.
But your brand evolves too.
It evolves,
so
exactly.
You may think, oh, this is my brand this year, but you're growing, and as you grow and evolve, your brand will change as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
See, I didn't even know that. You guys hear it? It's your man Sadiq from Experiences with Sadiq. Until next time, but if you guys know where you are, if you guys want to catch me on any of my social media platforms, you guys can catch me on Facebook or Instagram, Sadiq Davies, or Experiences with Sadiq. And also, don't forget to follow my team, the Davies group, if you guys are looking to buy or sell real estate. Until next time, talk to you guys. Love you guys. Peace.
Awesome, man.
How was that?